the IEC in the Eastern Cape is hosting a seminar where representatives from the civil society, media and academics will lead discussions on governance ahead of the 2026 local government election. The session is part of the Electoral Commission's strategic intent to engage its stakeholders at national, provincial, regional and local levels to strengthen relationships and lead discussions on shared objectives. Manager in the IEC Eastern Cape Provincial Office joins us now, Siyabonga Maki. Siyabonga, good evening. Thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it. Perhaps to start the conversation here, voter turnout is obviously a big concern of a declining democracy. And of course, the IEC carries the burden, sometimes unfairly so, of the credibility of our democracy and our democratic order. Tell me what some of the interlocutors that are participating in these workshops share around how they think that democratic decline can be turned around.
Good evening to you and your viewers at home. Just a correction there, my name is Siyabonga Maki.
Oh, my apologies for that. Siyabonga, yes. Go for it.
Yes. Yes, as you are pointing out, we had an interaction and engagement this morning in Gqeberha, where we engaged with different stakeholders. In fact, we are having a series of thought leadership seminars that we are conducting throughout the country and provinces, you know. And so we were talking about the democracy and the voter turnout, as it were. And we were, the topical issues were whether the number of political parties that we have registered currently, does that have an impact on the voter turnout? And the coalitions, the nature of now we know that we have a government of national unity. So we had Professor Gumede talking to us about the coalition, saying that actually there's nothing wrong with coalitions. It pointed out to different countries around the world which have always used coalitions to rule and govern their countries. And we were looking at whether the outcome that we saw after the 2024 elections will be replicated after the local government elections. And so we were looking at that. And the second speaker was talking about the apparent disconnect between the political parties and the voters, and saying that people just go out and vote and leave everything else to the political parties. And we were encouraged, to participate in the aftermath of the elections. So we were talking about that, and we had another speaker talking about the experience of the journalists as it relates to the elections. So we had a wide-ranging kind of discussions.
Yeah,
we are doing that in an endeavor to, for us to be able to be advised on some of these issues. We are wanting the academia to speak to us, thinking about what would unfold after an election.
Yeah. There's a widening cleavage in the trust coefficient between parties and voters, as you describe it there. And the response often is one that seems to yearn for and call for some form of electoral reform. Now, the IEC is not a law-making body. It implements the law which already exists. But it often has to respond to those questions and or decries of electoral reform. To what extent did it come up in this workshop?
No, it did not. It did not come to that. But there was a mention of a few amendments that we will see on the local government legislation, but which is not really, which will not make an impact. It's just, it's minor changes that we are anticipating, unlike what we saw in preparation for the national and provincial elections. So yes, we do get those questions, but we do direct people to say that no, it is only the parliament that can promulgates the legislation. And equally, the voter turnout, it does worry us as the IEC, but we know and we are trying to explain to people that there's nothing that we can do about it. We do voter education as much as possible, but the rest remains a responsibility of political parties and civil society at large.
The last national government election was, I think, a big learning curve for South Africa, experiencing their first ever vote under what is effectively a new electoral regime, right? Where there's the introduction of independent candidates at a national level, and that changed the configuration of the ballots ever so slightly, albeit that slight reconfiguration seemingly had a significant effect in the number of spoiled ballots and that sort of thing. But more importantly, there was an attempt in the last election, the last national government election, to digitize certain aspects of the voting process and value chain. And in some parts of the country, it went well. In other parts, those devices just stopped working and it just didn't go well at all. And those voting stations had to revert back to a manual process. I'm almost certain there are continued conversations around how to make certain parts of the voting process more efficient through digitization. Frame that for us in how it played out in this discussion.
Elections and voting in South Africa is not digital. It is manual, but we are using some device to point out if a person is registered as a voter and if a person is at the right voting station, and to mark whether that person, if that person has been issued with a ballot. The only online thing that we do for now is the registration. We have online registration, but online voting, no. So we did have challenges with the device, and we are working on that as an internal planning, adventure. So we are getting ready to have those machines working the way they should be working in the next elections. But there's no digitalization of elections in South Africa presently.
Yeah, like I said, certain parts of the voting process, like for instance, the voter verification part of it being a part of that process. Well, we're going to have to leave it there. Siyabonga, thank you so much for your time. Really do appreciate it.